What up, y'all? It's your boy, the HNRR. But the only place you can get real red pill talk at this point. Today we're going to jump into the hypocrisy of the Deshaun Watson situation. And I ran across this article in the Atlantic from Jamel Hill. And for those who are not familiar with Ms. Hill, former ESPN sports analyst. Then her and Michael Smith kind of branched off, did the his and hers thing. Actually, the first show ever got me into podcasting, to be honest with you. And that may have been, 2011 or 12, whatever, when they started doing that on ESPN, which then spawned into the His and Hers TV show. And the show was entertaining. She doesn't give me, when it comes to sports, she's not too knowledgeable. Let's just say it that way. She doesn't offer you too much. And that's not because she's a woman. There's plenty of women on ESPN who offer you insight. She just didn't. So as things started to, once they went to the Sports Center thing ended, she started venturing off into this whole Trump thing. And at first I thought it was a one-off because at times, she would kind of jump off the roof here or there and say, voice opinions outside of sports on ESPN. So, I wasn't taken aback by the Trump comments, but, I heard them and was just like, all right. Then it started to happen over and over and over and over. And it was like, yeah, ESPN is trying to silence me. And at that point, that's when I knew there's an agenda here. So, her and Michael Smith left, fired, however you want to look at it. Contracts bought out, however you want to look at it. Then we get to the Colin Kaepernick situation. And that's when you kind of know, okay, she's part of the woke movement now. That's the angle. See, for me, when I say real red pill, which I feel like I've gotten away from the genesis of what this was all supposed to be about. But, that'll be for another episode at another time, I guess. When I say real red pill, that's me understanding, hey, everybody has an angle. So then what you need to find out is what's someone's angle. Because now, if the angle doesn't match up with who they are as a person or the message, then you understand, all right, this person playing a role. So I don't know if Jamel was always a feminist. I don't know if she was always super pro-black, but she is now. I would have to dig into the archives of old articles. But what I will tell you is, I went and looked up an interview she did about Deshaun Watson some years ago, and it was everybody back then, including Michael Smith, he's trying to act like he's on the fence, but he's not. But we'll deal with that probably in the next episode. Everybody is doing this whole, I'm not saying he's guilty, but if 22 people come out, that means he's guilty. How many people can be lying? It's kind of how I told you, it's how they got Bill Cosby. Well, 30 women can't be lying, can they? No, they could be. They most certainly could. Why would they lie? Why would anybody lie? There's something to gain out of it. And see what's happening right now is men are now we're getting ready to start having to live in the silent generation. The silent generation is getting ready to be reborn again. But this time around, because of how soft men have gotten in society, we'll be forced to walk around now Penis is tucked. Arms slouched, shoulders slouched down. Nose almost in your chest. And you won't be allowed to have an opinion on anything. Because at this point, we're no longer innocent until proven guilty. It's just whatever the court of public opinion says. That's what it is at this point. So we're going to go through this article Jamel wrote. And as we go through it, I just want to kind of get into the hypocrisy of some of this. Because again, I do want you to understand, the same Jamel Hill and Michael Smith and most of these sports analysts 5 years ago when he was drafted was saying what? For my beloved Bears, we took Trubisky over him and Patrick Mahomes. And what did you get out of that conversation? Here they go, always picking the white man over the black man, doing the black man dirty. This is a young man who's won on every level. Coach says it's going to be the Michael Jordan of the next level of the NFL. His mother raised a great man. Look how humble he is. Nose has been clean. Now all of a sudden, they used to always say he was a great leader of men people would always follow. They did all these characteristics. And now that a man is stating, this man with all of this integrity is stating I'm innocent, now his word no longer means anything. And that's exactly why I push and I fight so hard when I tell you, don't let these people sully your name, because that's all you got out here. Take you a lifetime to build it up. And it takes 1 second for a man or a woman to call in or put out something that's not true to destroy it all. So you got to fight for it. Deshaun has been quite silent at this point about fighting for it. Because at a certain point, you're going to have to come out and just say, all of these women are lying. You have to. I know it won't sound well, and I know people's feelings are going to be hurt. And most men stay quiet about this because they don't want to hurt. They don't want to lose endorsements. Women are they might be the biggest consumers in the NFL at this point. I think they may be the biggest consumers in terms of patronizing clothes, jerseys, shorts, paraphernalia, all of those things. The NFL does not want to lose that fan base. It's why when they did the whole Ray Rice thing, which I think we will go back and revisit that also, and how they mishandled that. When there becomes an overcorrection, we have a problem. And right now we're in a society of overcorrection. Women fought so hard for what? Hey, we've been mistreated for the last hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years in this place. So now what they want to do is they don't want to swing the pendulum to the middle for it to be fair. They want it to swing all the way to now. Just give us everything we want that makes us feel good. Now that they're getting everything that makes them feel good, we're getting what? Now we're getting conversations of men are no longer masculine. We're tired of these timid men. These men should have a backbone. Well, if you emasculated them and took their nuts away from them, how would you expect them to react? See, they're putting men in a trick bag. At this point, I could middle finger them all. I can take them, not take them. I could be with them, not be with them. It's all good to me, one way or the other. I keep saying they are an accessory in a relationship with a woman. For me, she's just the accessory. I am the outfit. She's the earrings. She's the fitted hat. She's the shoes. She might be the shoelaces, and depending on the shoes I have on, she may be the socks depending on the shoes and the shorts I have on. But she's just an accessory to complement it and make it stand out more. Just not needed. But okay, let's get to this Jamel Hill article. says 26 years old, is already a 3-time Pro Bowl selection, led the Texans to consecutive playoff berths, and has the talent of a potential NFL MVP. Having done their due diligence, the Browns were comfortable with trading away a bevy of valuable draft picks and promising Watson, who had denied any non-consensual sexual conduct, the most guaranteed money in NFL history. See, again, this is where their first problem comes in. It's the contract he has. Because just like in the child support system, you have bitter baby mothers who put the fathers in jail because he's a month behind on child support. Well, you shouldn't feel behind. So now he's in jail. Now he can't work. So now you're going to keep money. If this was about the child and the child being taken care of, why would you take his livelihood away from him? He needs to learn a lesson. Spiteful, idiotic, emotional. That's what you get. If he wasn't getting the most guaranteed money in NFL history, I don't even know if the outcry would be what it is. But again, they build you up to tear you down and build you up again. This is how this goes. They did it with Jordan. They built him up, tore him down, built him up again. They built him up, used the gambling situation, death of his father to tear him down. Then he came back out of retirement. They rebuilt him up again. Did it with Kobe Bryant. Built him up, used the rape allegations to tear him down. Then they built him up again. Did it with Tiger Woods. You would think Tiger murdered somebody. Tiger is now one of the most hated men, was one of the most hated men in America for almost a decade, just for stepping out on his wife. Didn't beat her. Didn't give her disease. Not fathering children outside of marriage. He just stepped out. You would think the man was out here beating the hell out of her. But again, build you up, cheated on your wife, you're despicable, tear you down. Okay, you won another major for us, build you up again. That's the way the sports world works. So, this is typical behavior by NFL teams, which are notorious for vouching for the characters of players with a deeply worrisome history. And we're going to get to the hypocrisy of this as I finish this, so you'll understand, for those who watch on the YouTube channel, what this has to do with Mackenzie Scott. When in truth, the only trait that they really care about is whether that player possesses the necessary drive to compete and to win championships. Of course, football character and personal character have frequently proved to be two very different things, and they should be. We all get paid. See, people have to understand you're talking about employment and corporations and companies. Each individual in the NFL is an individual corporation. He's a hired gunman. He's providing a service. He must be paid well for how well the type of service he provides. If he's providing, Deshaun is one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. The market would dictate, if he was getting a new contract, he would be the highest paid player in the league, or the highest paid quarterback, or the most guaranteed money from a quarterback in NFL history. The market would dictate that. No different than when Lamar Jackson's contract is coming up for the Ravens. It's getting ready to be time, and Lamar gonna reset the market. That's just the way it goes. That's the price of doing business. That's sports for you. But what they want you to do is play judge and jury. So we must be mindful. 22 women have filed. He has 22 civil suits filed against him from 22 different women. None have made it past the grand jury for him to be indicted on any of those so far. Of the 9 so far, they've come back and said there's not enough evidence to indict. So at this point, he's still innocent until proven guilty. He says he's innocent. Those women say that he's guilty. Until you can prove that in the court of law, he's innocent. no matter what you feel. This is not about your feelings, but again, this is what you deal with when you deal with woke people. You're not really dealing with a lot of facts, dealing with a lot of feelings and emotions. Well, this is how the conversation started. This is how I felt. This makes me feel. Fuck your feelings, man. So the New England Patriots infamously decided, and I want you to look at the correlation she's going to start to make. In 2010, to draft Aaron Hernandez, then a troubled University of Florida tight end, despite widespread concerns about his personality and his disciplinary history. According to the Wall Street Journal, a scouting service did a pre-draft psychological evaluation of Hernandez and gave him the lowest possible score for social maturity, but a 9 out of 10 for receptivity to coaching and an above average score for dedication. Now, this right here. Again, at this point, we didn't know Aaron Hernandez was what he was. And we could give a lot of people psychological evaluations, Ms. Hill. But at that point, how many people would have jobs? Because again, this is a privilege. They're still providing a service. These are people who have practiced and worked their entire lives to get to this stage. They are specialists in their field. If anybody could do it, hell, we'd all be rich. We'd all be playing professional sports if anybody could do it. Do you want choir boys on every level? No, you don't. But see, what I want you to read also is an above average score for dedication, but she wanted to tell you psychological evaluation of Hernandez gave him the lowest possible score for social maturity. Now, Aaron Hernandez, you murdered a couple people. Hey, was found guilty of that. If Deshaun was found guilty of sexually assaulting one of these women, then Jamel Hill has a valid point. But an allegation is not a valid point. Because Emmett Till is dead because of an accusation. There are plenty of men who are dead because of false accusation. While we live in this, believe women first. I believe his name was Brian Banks. NFL career, college career was taken away from him. Because of what? Rape accusations. And I think for him, it was statutory rape, if I believe correctly, where he might have been a couple years older than the girl, but he was senior in high school. It's the rules of the game, I think. Well, I won't say I think with that. That is the rules of the game. But when I say I think, I'm referring to him being a couple years old. I know he was still in high school when this happened. So let's not act like when allegations are made, people are always telling the truth. Again, Tory Lanez has been put under a gag order for the last 2 years. Career's been basically taken away. They've shunned him, pushed him to the side. All for what? Allegations. He should have been thrown under the jail at this point. Don't you think? But we won't delve into that either until the facts completely come out with this. Well, with that case. Chris Brown and Rihanna. That's a situation that's crazy. But guess what? That's also a situation where you had people say, yo, she used to hit on him a lot. And they start beating on each other after a while. But you get put in the box of that. You're a man, though. You shouldn't respond back. Which again, because I was raised the way I was raised, yes, I'll never hit a woman. Not unless my life was literally on the line. I was raised in a hostile enough situation around women where I understand I know how to just walk away. I know when the conversation starts going left, before they know it's going left, you got it. Let me grab my hat or tip my hat. You got this. I'm gone. But let's get back to this. Hernandez later received a life sentence for murder and died by suicide in prison. Although the Patriots couldn't predict that Hernandez would one day be convicted of a cold-blooded killing, plenty of warning signs suggested that they should pass on him in the draft. So see again, why are we making this correlation? If they couldn't predict it, there's no need to make the correlation. Because we could talk about the black therapist who murdered her murdered the preacher's, was it the preacher's girlfriend last year? Or the preacher's wife? We could talk about white women who've completely, in corporate America, lost their shit and murdered their husbands. One has nothing to do with the other. Like, you don't know what's going to push somebody over the edge one day. And once they go over the edge, how are you holding companies responsible? But again, put a pin in that, because we're going to deal with that when we get to Mackenzie Scott. This is not to say that Watson, whom a grand jury in Houston declined to criminally charge earlier this month, should be painted in the same light as Hernandez. A grand jury in nearby Texas County also declined to charge him. But if she says this is not to say that Watson, whom a grand jury, should be painted in the same light as Hernandez, why are we making the comparison? Because that's the light she wants to paint him in. It's kind of like when somebody comes to you and this, hey man, I don't want to, it's kind of like my man who didn't get the job over here because of racism. But I ain't really saying they ain't take me because of racism. They ain't pick me because it was racism. Well, if you're not trying to make the correlation, then why would you mention your friend not getting the job because of racism? All you have to do was let Deshaun Watson's whole situation stand on its own merit. But this is a way, again, to paint people in a certain light. She has become the hitman for the woke movement. On men, and especially African-American men, her husband should very much be ashamed of the wife he chose, especially for him to be an officer of the law. Should be very ashamed, bro. I don't know how you go to bed and you sleep next to a woman like that. But also goes to state and show clearly what type of man you are also. But clearly the Browns decided that Watson was such a special talent that they could put aside any doubts about him, much as the Patriots did with Hernandez. Now, Deshaun ain't ever been in trouble until this situation. We don't have anything to go on but this situation. Then what correlation do they have besides them being people of color and athletes? That's it. There's no correlation to make between that. She's now comparing a man who the grand jury has come back and declined to charge him on 9 of the women already, saying we don't have any evidence of these situations, to a convicted murderer who then committed suicide. How are we making that correlation? But I'll tell you what correlation she won't make. We'll get to that at the end. The allegations against Watson weren't disqualifying factors for the Browns or for the many other teams who were hoping to land him, especially once the grand jury chose not to indict him. In fact, there was a bidding war for Watson's services, which ultimately led the Browns to reward him with the robust payday. Watson could still be suspended by the NFL. Under the league's personal conduct policy, the NFL has the right to punish players absent criminal charges or convictions. That so many teams covet Watson is badly sends a terrible message. But that's just the way pro football operates. Now again, hasn't been convicted of anything. So what terrible message is it sending? And see what's going to happen one day, because they've opened Pandora's box up like this, is we're going to be a week of the Super Bowl, and you're going to have a couple women come out and say, yo, this quarterback raped me. And they're going to have to sit him. There's going to be a lot of money lost, and it's going to come out that those allegations were untrue. And then people are just going to be like, well, what did you want us to do? This is the box you've put us in. This is the corner you've put us in. This is how you want us to operate now. As long as she makes an allegation, it must be true. And we need to prove it not to be true. See, we live in a society already where they come to you and they say, the victim. If she's the victim, then what must he be already? He's already guilty if she's already the victim. Now you need to find a better word. Could you say the accused and the accuser? I can live with that. What you do find, some reputable legal analysts, they do refer to things like that. This is the accused, this is the accuser. But the media, for the most part, mainstream media is going to classify her as the victim, him as the one who did it. At that point, when she's deemed the victim, it is now, the burden of proof now is on him to now what? Prove he's innocent, not for her to prove that he's guilty. So they're not walking in on equal footing. Now we have to find enough holes in her story to punch through to say she's lying. What if we can't find any holes? What if it now becomes my word against her word? Now we go with who can tell the best story. And if her lawyers can tell the best story or sell the best story, now I go to jail. Tell me where's the fairness in that? Exactly. On Wednesday, Kansas City Chiefs traded wide receiver Tyreek Hill to the Dolphins, who gave Hill a contract who made him the league's highest paid wide receiver. Now look at the other correlation. Back in 2015, Hill accepted a plea agreement after facing felony charges of domestic assault and battery by strangulation. Yeah, your boy Tyreek was a woman beater, and we're going to deal with that too. Because again, she has a point here. This is somebody who's been charged, had his day in court, and played out. He was guilty. So for these two men, Aaron Hernandez and Tyreek Hill, you do have a point. You even got a point for Ray Rice. You don't have a point yet for Deshaun Watson. But because there's agendas being pushed here, and I'm going to tell you what the two agendas are once we get to the end of this article. They're now making Deshaun the face of all of this. Now, what's going to happen is if he comes back innocent of all of these criminal charges, because understand, if you lose in civil court, you don't have to really prove. The burden of proof is not as strong in civil court as it is in criminal court. No different than Michael Jackson. We found out what? The boys was lying. But for years we heard what? What type of grown man sleeps with boys? So obviously he must have slept with him. He must have molested him. Why in Emmanuel who would say he molested him? Why didn't Macaulay Culkin? Why didn't none of these other children who turned into adult actors come out and say, yo, Mike molested me? So we crucified a man almost to his death, calling him a child molester. And you found out what? You found out on that documentary that Oprah did, a hit piece on Michael Jackson, that what? Those boys was lying. The time frame they gave you for when these things happened and how it happened, those things didn't exist back then. What did Oprah do? Distance herself from it. Hey, I didn't know, thought these boys were telling the truth. I'm out. But that's all we get. And we'll get into that, another episode of that, probably later this week. But they assassinated Michael Jackson's character. And at the end, all we get from you bastards and you ungrateful bastards at that is an apology. We have now sisters, my own sisters, not mine personally, but just speaking for him, his sisters, his brothers. They don't really trust him around their children anymore. I don't care what anybody tells you. Any parent, once that stain gets put on somebody's jacket, there'll never be 100% trust of you being around their children alone. And there's nothing worse for a man to be labeled as than a child molester. But that's again why I tell you when they say, hey, all these people can't be lying. Well, we found out they were. Well, then why did Michael pay him? Because it was easier and quicker to get it out of the spotlight if we paid you guys to go away. You ever heard wealthy people say, I don't pay women for sex, I pay them to leave? Yo, it's easier for me to just pay for this transaction and you to go on about your business than to create a relationship with you. I don't want to deal with all the extra stuff. That's why prostitution is still so relevant to this day. There are a lot of men who just pay because they're paying, yo, I don't really want a relationship. I don't really want to talk. I just want to do the do, and I want you to go away. I got an itch that needs to be scratched, and I'm out. Let's get back to Tyree. Hill was accused of choking his pregnant girlfriend and punching her in the stomach and face. And in 2019, Hill was briefly suspended while in the investigation for alleged child abuse. No charges were ultimately filed. Now again, do we even talk about this from Tyreek now? No, because what? They got what they needed. And he ain't really the big fish anymore. Now, when all the Ray Rice stuff was going on, sure, but what did the Chiefs do? The Chiefs did exactly what Roger Goodell should have did with the Ray Rice situation. We've made our ruling. This is how we operate. You either with it or you're not, but we ain't changing course. As a leader, that's what it is. You ain't swaying nothing. I don't care how loud the outcry gets. This was my ruling. Accept it or don't accept it. But it's been made already. Now, this is where we get into where her agenda lies. Hill, like Watson, is still in the NFL. Meanwhile, the exiled quarterback, Colin Kaepernick, has been regularly posting videos of himself on social media, working out with players in different cities, but hasn't had a team of his own in years. Now, here we go. That's her agenda. She wants to know, hey, why my boy Colin? We've been fighting, this woke movement, been pushing for Colin. Why don't he have a job? Why does he want a job? See, that's the question people still haven't asked Colin Kaepernick. If they treated you like you was on a plantation, they treated you like a piece of meat, they've been smacking you in the face, telling you you're not wanted here, why are you still trying to be here? Why do you want to belong so bad to a place they don't want you at? And see, that's my problem with society now. That was my problem with integration. That's my problem with the feminist movement. That's my problem with men out here. It's always, well, y'all don't want me here, so I'm going to fight to get in there. I don't want to be no place I'm not wanted. That's why so many marriages end bad. People together for 50 years hate each other. But you got one who's ready to get out, but the other one is, I ain't letting you leave. Why is that? You're no longer wanted here. Accept that. Move on. But people are always trying to infringe on other people's boundaries. Colin Kaepernick is no longer good, Jamel Hill. And I'll tell you this. If Colin Kaepernick was 70% of the player Deshaun Watson was, still currently, Colin would be playing. They tried to give him an opportunity last year. What did he do? Played around. Was it last year, year before last? Whenever it was, though. But played around. Yo, we got this workout set up, but it really wasn't a real workout. So instead, I took my team to this other stadium where we shot a Nike commercial while I was working out. Colin is looking for attention. He's an attention whore. That's all he ever was. That's all he ever will be. For those who don't know, you should probably go look into who Colin Kaepernick was leading up to him taking a knee and how all that transpired. You should really investigate some of these guys you think did that for the right reason. Because that wasn't his intention when he initially sat. You should go find out why he initially sat. But at this point, this woke movement, this is a way for the people who are in Jemele Hill's status and on that team. This is how they eat and make a living at this point, being divisive. She's no different than Jesse Jackson, no different than Reverend Al Sharpton, no different than Louis Farrakhan. These people are always looking for the next way to make a dollar, no different than Benjamin Crump. This is all a hustle. She doesn't care one way or the other. If the right offer was made to Jemele Hill, she would sell you out just like the Black Lives Matter women did, right? You gotta understand, man. This is a business, big business. Now, she also goes to state that the former San Francisco 49er was left jobless after kneeling in protest during the national anthem. While players accused of violent misconduct are paid top dollar, it's quite a statement about what the NFL deems a threat to the integrity of the league. Now, full disclosure, I am a producer of the ESPN documentary series that Kaepernick and the director Spike Lee are making about the former quarterback's banishment from pro football. So again, I have an agenda. But again, Jemele Hill thinks the NFL should be in the business of race. Now, she wants to fight this whole police brutality thing with Colin Kaepernick. Yet every chance she gets, she's shitting on masculinity. She's shitting on black men. So if you're doing the same thing that the cops doing, you're just doing it in a different fashion. I would say you're no different than the cops, Jemele. And it's even worse because it's coming for black men, it's coming from our mothers, our sisters, our wives. So at least with the cops, you know what his angle is. I know that motherfucker don't like me. I know he don't fuck with me. I know there's an agenda and I know there's a bias. It hurt when it comes from somebody you love. It hurt when you look in the mirror and you say, my mother stabbed me in the back. When you say my wife stabbed me in the back. When you say my sister stabbed me in the back. When you say my daughter stabbed me in the back. They chose this agenda over here that's really aligned with what you call white supremacy. You're aligned with the feminist movement, who gets paid by the same people who fund white supremacy, and y'all all kind of work hand in hand with each other at the end of the day. It's just you come from the side of the Democrat side. We're going to keep giving you welfare and telling you that we on your side while we smack you in the face. They come from, as you like to call it, the Republican side. I'm going to put it in your face that I don't fuck with you. So, unlike Kaepernick, Watson will apparently keep playing football, but he'll be a divisive figure. Kaepernick is no longer playing because Kaepernick don't want to play. If Kaepernick truly wanted to play, Kaepernick would have came in, played for the veteran minimum, showed he could still play, and went on about his business. Same as what Cam had to do. Cam Newton getting ready to be gone out of the NFL. you won't hear anybody saying it's because of racism. It's because Cam is no longer good. And if you really not good, and let's put this out here real quick. It's hard for a young quarterback to succeed when there's a huge shadow over him. So for a cat like Cam, that's why Cam told you they didn't need my shadow overshadowing Mac Jones in New England. I got a big presence, so they got rid of him. Those backups know they're backups. They are to be seen, not heard. There's no way for Colin Kaepernick to be seen and not heard at this point. They're going to always want to be having conversations about everything but football. And Colin Kaepernick still thinks he deserves to start. He would have to understand at this point, 35, 36 years old, you're going to be a backup. You're not as mobile as you used to be. You never was an accurate quarterback. You're going to be a backup. And that's it. Is that fair? No, but life ain't fair. Is the child support system fair? No, but men have to deal with it. Is the alimony system fair? No, but men have to deal with it. Is life fair? No, but as human beings, we have to deal with it. So, some defenders see him as a prominent black athlete whose reputation is being unfairly sullied by accusers who are only seeking money. Others see a serial predator who avoided criminal prosecution only because sexual assault accusations almost never lead to a conviction. The only opinion that really matters, though, is the Browns, and they see Watson as an opportunity. In the NFL, if you're talented enough, there's no such thing as a red flag. No, in life, if you're talented enough, there's no such thing as a red flag. You, Jamel, here are a red flag. You're a walking time bomb. And again, what she said right here, others see him as a serial predator who avoided criminal prosecution only because sexual assault accusations almost never lead to a conviction. And see, this is when I tell people, once they put that on your jacket, they're going to always see you as a child molester or a rapist. The second the accusation comes, it doesn't matter if you prove yourself innocent. They're going to be that sector now who always say, hey, I was raped. He got away with it. How I know you did? So at that point, that's why I say when you're playing around with being a rapist or a child molester, you better be damn sure before you throw that accusation out there, that person actually did that. You don't ever put that on somebody's jacket because you can't never take that off somebody's jacket. That's kind of like a gunshot wound. Like you put child molestation or rape on a man's jacket, that's it. That don't come off. So we also go all right, let's get to this next one. We go to Mackenzie Scott, Jeff Bezos' ex-wife. And I'm going to take you to the correlation I made between these two to show you how hypocritical the world is that we live in. Where we at, man? This ended up still being 40-some minutes. Donated $275 million to the reproductive health care nonprofit Planned Parenthood, the largest ever gift made to the organization. In an announcement Wednesday in the Medium Post, Scott detailed her latest donations to 465 organizations and institutions, including Habitat for Humanity, Boys and Girls Clubs of America, and Urban Teachers. She says the primary focus of her philanthropy is to support underrepresented people from groups of all kinds. The cause of equity has no size, nor can it have a single solution, Scott said in her post. So, Planned Parenthood said, "We're grateful for Ms. Scott's extraordinary philanthropic investment in Planned Parenthood is a critical part of the public health infrastructure." Planned Parenthood CEO Alexis McGill Johnson said in a statement. Now, any of you guys know my thoughts on abortion already. And Margaret Sanger, which is, interesting. Because at this point, what are we doing? We have a modern day Margaret Sanger now. So we're going to put $275 million in to the underrepresented people, which means this is to do what? Help abort more Hispanic and Black children, as if we haven't done that enough. Which means, what are we trying to do? Have who become the majority again? Now, those can always say, "Hey, man, this never was a plan to exterminate Black children or whatever." But again, I've told you, the African American race, the so-called African American race, is almost, we're short in population, maybe 60 to 100 million people because of abortions. Which means what at this point? We would be larger in numbers in this country at this point, which would mean what? We would be more represented. We wouldn't be underrepresented. So she said, "I want to donate this to the underrepresented," which means I'm trying to underrepresent more of the underrepresented. We're trying to get less of y'all to be here. Now, that's a deeper conversation that can happen, but we won't do that here. But what I want to do is make the correlation here. We're applauding her for donating $275 million to what will be in the next 10 years, 100 million murders of unborn children. We're applauding it. Let's just call it what it is. See, Jamel Hill tells you what? How dare you hire Aaron Hernandez? How dare I not? How dare you give more money to Tyreek Hill for punching a pregnant woman? See, I told you. I think his child's mother was 2 or 3 months at the time when he punched her. Now, if she aborted that baby, it would have been what? Just abortion. It wasn't murder. Tyreek punches her. They want charges brought up against, now you harming an unborn child. Which one is it? Because if it's an unborn child, and it's murder when you abort it also. But let's have a deeper conversation. Aaron Hernandez in jail for murder. Have no problem with that. Do the crime, you do the time. Tyreek Hill, we want to have a conversation about him being abusive to women. These people don't deserve to get paid the money that they should get paid. Deshaun Watson, why would he be given that type of grace? Why would he be given that type of money when these allegations are brought up against him? You got a valid point, Jamel, except for the Deshaun Watson. I'm not with you with that. But the point I haven't heard you make just yet is, you don't have a problem with Black CEOs of companies who've had 6 abortions and have murdered 6 unborn children. We don't have a problem, especially in our culture that you want to focus in so much on. We surely don't have a problem putting mothers on pedestals, and they've murdered countless and countless and countless of unborn children. So what type of human beings are those? Oh, we do that under the guise of what? Birth control. They not really human beings just yet. They don't really matter. Now again, I told you 40, 50 episodes ago on that podcast that what? When they got punched his child's mother, they charged him with attempted murder. So if it was attempted murder on a woman who's 3 months pregnant, it sure should be murder when she terminates that pregnancy, right? It's either one or the other. That child either exists or it doesn't exist. But you want me to tell you why so many women stay quiet about the abortion conversation? I'm going to give you this game before we end this. And hit the like, hit the subscribe. They are who they are. They're no different than men at the end of the day. See, they look at men and they say, you've taken advantage of the power you have, which allowed you to abuse us, beat us, smack us around. It's no different than you murdering the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions of unborn children. You used the power you had and you terminated that life. Because what? As you would like to say, these men hit me because I was an inconvenience. I was talking too much. This child, unborn child, was causing an inconvenience to your life, so you murdered it. So, see, Jamel, I'll be on your side if you're on my side. Any woman who has an abortion and murders a child, unborn child, they should no longer be allowed to be CEOs or vice presidents or presidents either. If we throwing away everything in the bathtub, then let's just throw it all out. Let's split it right down the middle. Let's make it even. We have law-abiding citizens on the left, criminals on the right. At what point will we get women to stand up and say, abortion is murder? Let's just call it for what it is. I know my mother would never be, and not me speaking personally, but just channeling what you would have women saying. My mother would never be a murderer. Sure she would. And that's something my wife has stated to me, period. She stated to me that more than enough occasions now, she opened my eyes to that. When I would say, you're not capable of that, she would always come to me and say, no, babe, everybody is capable of everything. And that floored me for a while. Then you do have to sit back and understand, sure, in any situation, any of us can go left or right. So we are capable of everything. But see, with Deshaun Watson, you're trying to put a whole lot of things on hypotheticals. At this point, he's innocent until proven guilty. What are we doing with the women who we know have murdered hundreds of millions of unborn children? It's your boy, the Hood Nerd. I'm out.